I am Kamatsu, a senior program manager in ABD, owning the session host management area. Good to meet you all. We also have Maggie Dakiva from Intune joining us today, presenting our journey on enabling ABD VM management with Intune, along with sharing some future investigations area that we're looking into right now. And in addition, we will be showing a demo of a user scope policy configuration and at the end, we'd like to have a few discussion items that we'd love to learn from this audience that will help us decide some investment priorities. So let's start from sharing the history. So to you, Maggie.
Hello, everyone. So here you can see a slide that kind of tracks the timeline of some of our most notable announcements in the past year and a half. This is focusing more on our native cloud investments. So specifically, I'd like to start here by pointing out the Intune announcement of support for Azure AD joint AVD session host VMs, which we announced at the end of 2021. And with it, we enabled single session VMs to enroll to Intune directly when you add a VM to the host pool. And then with Intune, we allow you to manage essentially the OS image, manage the MDM policies, the certificates, the apps with our Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center portal. Next, in April of 2022, we announced general availability for device configuration management of multi-session host VMs, which enables you to secure your multi-session VMs and also supports things like conditional access. And in this specific announcement, we released the support for management of device scope policies and apps. Next, in late June, we announced a public preview of user configuration support for multi-session hosts. It is one of the features that we hear most asks about. And it will allow for certain additional user configurations like user scope policies, such as control panel, Office, OneDrive, Edge policies, but also user certificates. Now, at this time, I'd like to call out that this is limited to Windows 11 only, but later we're looking to enable Windows 10 as well. And finally, I'd like to call out that this month we have a couple of exciting upcoming features, specifically support for configuration of FSLogix configurations to our portal, as well as the MDM security baselines, which was another feature that we had lots of feedback about. Okay, and now let's talk a little bit more about some future investments and areas of investigation we are currently working on. Now, we have two main pillars we're focusing on where we're looking to enhance our capabilities. The first one is extending the supported scenarios for different configurations for the session hosts. And the second is enhancing the capabilities for security, as well as for how we can report compliance specifically for VMs. On the configuration side, as we've shared just a few minutes ago in the previous slide, the device scope configurations is generally available. User scope configuration is on its way to be generally available later this year. We have also touched a little bit on FSLogix configuration and MDM security baselines, which are the things that are coming up again within this calendar year. Now, in addition, we are investigating some new areas of investment for next calendar year. Some examples are OS feature update. This is an area where we hear a lot of mixed feedback from customers. So some share that it's just easier to swap the image, to delete the old VM and just spin up a brand new one and enroll the new one. But then there are also customers who have been asking for support in line with what Microsoft Update for Business today supports for physical devices. So that's also one of the points we'd like to discuss with you a bit later in today's presentation. We also understand that application management is another important area. And one challenge we've had is supporting application management for users. For multi-session, it's one of our most common asks and an area where we are investigating the best approach for allowing apps when we have concurrent users. And then lastly, we hear from our customers that there's a desire to prevent users from accessing the session host before the VM has been fully provisioned with all of its policies and apps. Now, for that one, we are considering separately single and multi-session. And we're trying to see what we can do to ensure that the VM is only provided for the user if everything has been configured. How can we ensure that all the configuration has already been delivered? And the VM is truly secure, so end users will not access VM that might not be fully compliant, for example. Now, let's move over to the second area that we have highlighted here. Now, as you might know, earlier this year, Azure Virtual Desktop team announced support for trusted VMs. And Intune has been looking at ways to extend the capabilities we have to specifically accommodate the new scenarios that trusted VMs support. Some examples are the TPM state and also secure boot state. These are key policies in compliance. So we're looking at extending our compliance support for Azure Virtual Desktop so that it can also support these additional configurations. And then in addition, one area we are focusing on is ensuring that compliance policies in Intune can reflect properly Azure Disk Encryption type of encrypting devices. One thing I'd like to call out here is today what we have in Intune is check for BitLocker on the device, but BitLocker actually doesn't make sense for VMs. It's not something that's recommended or really secures the VM. For Azure VMs, including Azure Virtual Desktop VMs, what we recommend is Azure Disk Encryption, and we want to make sure that our compliance policies can check and verify that as well before allowing users access to company resources. And finally, some future items. Those are more than a year out, but things we'll be investigating as they're becoming more popularly used. The first one here is Azure Encryption Host. We are looking at ways we could check for VM encryption and maybe even tie it to compliance specifically for this type of encryption. And then one that's not as far in the future because it's something that is a highly desired security feature, that's tamper protection. One of the key features that we support in Intune that can ensure the VM is a secure state. One of the benefits of the policy in Intune is that you can target just a set of devices, so it doesn't have to go to your entire environment. Now, this one we're trying to bring to you as soon as possible, but we don't have any ETA to share yet. It's still under investigation. And now, switching over to Go to show you an interesting demo of user configuration support. And meanwhile, I'll also check the chat for any questions that popped up while I was speaking. I don't know, actually, Go, is there anything that is worth calling out and maybe we should just answer on the call?
There's one question around like host-based encryption. Maybe it's worth to clarify that that recommendation or the guidance for Azure VM is to use either Azure Disk Encryption or Azure host-based disk encryption. So that is why we are trying to kind of accommodate and to reflect that to be able to be used through through MEM compliance. Yeah, okay, then yeah, let's switch gears and go to the demo. So in this demo, we will be configuring user policies for multi-session hosts. And in the MEM, I'll show you the MEM experience as well as the end user experience. We will be configuring like restricting users from launching command prompt, control panel, and also configuring some browser configurations. And at the end, I'll show you how it's different when it's assigned to a different group of users. So let me prepare to switch. So now I am showing you the Intune admin portal. Here, we will be going into the device group and selecting the configuration policy. I have prepared 3 AVD profiles. One is dedicated to like the device-wide policies. There is user policies assigned to the admin user group, and the other is a user policy assigned to a standard user group. And when looking into this profile, you can see that from the admin templates, the restriction to access control panel is enabled. Also, under Edge, you will see that we have configured the homepage to navigate to Bing. So let's actually create a policy here. So go back to the configuration profiles and select create a profile. Here, we will be selecting Windows 10 and later and ensure to select settings catalog. Put a name. And you'll be adding settings. For multi-session, by using this filter function, you'll be able to limit to the policies that are supported on multi-session only. So select multi-session and apply. Okay, and then let's see what's a good one. So let's use start menu and taskbar, for example. Here you will be seeing a list of policies, and you'll notice that at the end there is like a note if it's a device-wide policy or user policy. And let's just add a few. So stop. And turn it on. And let's kind of also select something from Office. So maybe a first run experience. A little slow. And let's disable the first run movie. The important part here is that when you are creating a profile for user policy, user scope policies, please do not combine with device policies. In multi-session, user policies and device policies require to be in a different profile and assigned separately. If you would like to set scope, please add. And the assignment here, since we are configuring user scope policies, we will need to assign it to a user group. So let's assign it to a standard user. And if you assign it to a device group, that will not work here. And in addition, if you want to just assign it to the AVD multi-session OS, you can create a filter and add it here as well. And review and create, and you'll be able to confirm and assign it. And once these policy profiles are created, when the user signs in to the session host VM, that will initiate a sync with Intune, and then the profile will be assigned at that point. So let's move to the actual user experience. So I'm gonna sign in here. And as a standard user, so if you remember, we have restricted the user from accessing control panel and command prompt and a registry editor. So let's try to open the command prompt. Here, when the user tries to open, the command prompt does open, but it gives you the message that it has been disabled by your administrator. So, and the user will not be able to use anything else. Let's try to do the same for registry editor. Again, you'll receive the message that this has been disabled. And same for control panel. Again, a different error message. Now let's move to Edge. So if you remember, we configured a user policy that will be changing the home button. But before we actually see the experience, let's open the Edge policy. And here you can see that these policies has been applied to the current user. And the home page is here. When we go to see the settings, you will see that the home page has been set, also grayed out, showing that it is managed by the admin. Finally, if you click the experience, you'll be able to see that the home page has moved. Now, let's log in with a different user. And this is a user in the different admin group. So you can consider like someone like a help desk engineer opposed to a regular employee. Again, let's try to repeat the same, of what we did for the other user. Man prompt. For this user, you won't see the message, and you'll be able to kind of use command prompt as usual. Same for registry editor. And also panel. Everything is usable here. And I'm just going to open the task manager to show you that if you look into the users, you'll be able to see that we have 2 active users. So these are all on the same VM. So that completes the demo. And I will kind of pause here and see if there are any questions that anyone would like to speak of.